Hello, this is the Breville Barista Express, and this is a quick demo video showing you how to use the machine and sort of general tips and tricks on how to get the best coffee that you can with this Breville. I guess I'll start off from the beginning. So, when you turn on the machine, usually it makes a pumping noise that's sort of building up the water inside the machine. So, just like that. Usually it takes about 40 seconds, maybe a minute to turn on and light up, which means it's warmed and ready to go. But what I like to do is a blank shot, so that's a shot of coffee without any coffee in the handle. So doing that will warm up the machine some more for us. It'll warm up the handle. It'll also warm up the cup that's underneath. And if you have any dirt or oils, it'll also clean it up. So I like to use the single wall double cup or single wall 2-cup basket right here. It comes with all 4. So that's the double unpressurized, single unpressurized, double pressurized, single pressurized. These are generally used by sort of more amateur or professional coffee machines, whereas if you're a beginner or if you want something that's quick and easy, you use the pressurized baskets. So the single wall unpressurized baskets obviously are made with only one wall, and as you can see they have many holes underneath, whereas the double wall, the dual wall, they have only the one hole underneath. And they have 2 walls actually, and that's what creates pressure. And in fact, when you use this, even without any coffee in the portafilter in the handle, you'll still get pressure if you use the dual wall, because it'll force all the water through that one single hole. And that's what makes it easy, because you don't have to grind fine, you don't have to press correctly, you don't have to dose the correct amount to get the good pressure. That's sort of what gives espresso a good taste. Often with a single wall you need more work, I guess, to get a good coffee. But the sort of the ceiling and the potential is much better with the single wall, because it'll give you that, authentic crema, authentic flavor, and all that. And you can only do that if you grind fine enough, which obviously this machine can do. You have to adjust your grinder and adjust the mechanism here to grind fine enough, and you have to put the correct amount. If you put too little or too much, or if you grind too coarse, it'll be indicated in the pressure and also the coffee that comes out. So just as a general rule of thumb, and you'll see this, if the coffee comes out of the machine very slowly, so in black drops, and you see the pressure skyrocketing, then that's too much pressure, obviously, and that could be caused by very fine setting on the grind size, or too much coffee in the handle. You'll have to figure out which one of those. That's why I recommend getting a scale, so that you can take one factor out of the equation and make this a little bit easier for yourself. But basically, the dose, I'll set it up for you, and all you have to do is change the grind size. What else? If it comes out very slow, then that's too much pressure. If it comes out very quickly and you see the pressure only up to here, or only down to here, very low, then that's probably because you put too little coffee, or that's probably because the coffee is very coarse. Also, if your beans are old, you'll also get low pressure. But that's another matter. The machine will remind you when to clean and when to descale. I'll be doing those soon. A solid light means descale. A flashing light means clean. And a clean is the cleaning cycle you do with the rubber and the white tablet. That's the cleaning cycle, also known as the backflush. Whereas with the descale, that's when you get your descaler, your acid, in that water tank, and you run the descale cycle. Both of them are pretty easy to do, and I recommend you do them on time to prevent any damage and prolong the life of your machine. Okay, so enough talking, let's show you my routine. So I'll run a blank shot just to clean out any dirt or oils from here. Obviously make sure there's enough water. You can program these buttons. That's how you program these buttons. by pressing program, then pressing the button, and pressing it again. So do this once or twice and get your mug underneath, which I'll be doing. Get my cup. Yeah, let's use this one. So do it once or twice. It'll warm up the machine, warm up the handle, warm up the cup, and it'll clean any dirt. Good. See, it stopped right where we programmed it to. That looks like a lot. So I'll keep this on the side. I'll grab a tissue and I'll dry the portafilter. So you need to dry it properly before grinding, because that's going to give you the correct sort of grinding process. If it's wet, the grinds will clump and if they'll stick, it won't be as good. I'll just add some beans. I have another batch. The fresher the beans, the better, and the smaller the batch, the better. You can also experiment with coffees bought from supermarkets. They may be good, so give it a try. Cool. I'm just going to test how fine the grinder is. Okay, that's quite fine. Never change the grind size when the grinder is not turning. Only spin this dial when the grinder is spinning. So it's at number 5 at the moment, which is okay. Now at number 4, as you can see, it's very fine. There's also an internal mechanism where you can adjust the grind size. There's another YouTube video for that. Cool, I'm going to program it so that it's 9 grams per shot. So a double shot is 18 grams of ground coffee. You can press this button to make it go to double, so it grinds twice the amount. But I like to keep it at single so that I can press it down halfway and sort of reduce the mess. Okay, I'm gonna turn on my scale here. You really don't need a scale, like I said, but it will help. I like to use the scale just to be consistent. So single, this is at 1 o'clock, this is at around number 4. Let's see how many grams that is. I think it was at 9 last time I checked. Yeah, that's about 8.5, which is good. I'm gonna bump it up to 2 o'clock. So if you keep it at 2 o'clock, and you keep this at number 4, you should get decent coffee. When you change the beans, you may need to change the grind size, but keeping this at 2 o'clock would be a good rule of thumb. So here's my first one. I'll press it like I said, and then I'll press it again. Good. You will get sort of like a little hill of coffee. Group it up together. Press it down with your palm. Make sure it's sort of roughly flat, and then get the tamper. And make sure you press it down evenly and firmly. Not too hard. I mean, you don't want to put your entire body weight, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you compact it down so that it builds the correct pressure for the pressure gauge. Make sure it's flat. Make sure there's no holes or gaps, and you can twist it just to polish it and take it out. This is what it looks like. Clean the edges. You will see that a good way to know that you have the correct dose. This one is about 17.5, which is good. I will add a little bit. just a touch. So like I said, if you keep it at this setting and you do it twice, you should get about 18 grams, as we just saw with the scale. Cool. And this doesn't have to take long. I mean, I'm just doing it very slowly and deliberately for the video. Clean the edges, make sure it's flat and even. And you see, when we have 18 grams, with most coffees, the tamper will go as deep as the silver part. So this silver cap on the tamper, this is the depth that Breville recommends. This is the same depth that they have on their razor tool right here. This is sort of the tool that you use to scrape off the excess. You can use it, so you can overfill this and then use the razor to scrape it off. But in order to prevent waste and sort of save time, just make sure that it grinds the correct amount every single time, rather than having to grind extra and then scrape it off. But that's a good tool if you're a beginner. So yeah, good dose is 18 grams. And if you're not sure, it's roughly as deep as this silver part. So as deep as this here, which is about 7 millimeters. One more time, as you can see. Okay, now it's ready. Doesn't hurt to do another flush. So the machine's warmed up, handle's warmed up, coffee is ground. At this stage you can add any sugar, any syrups to your cup. If not, you can just go right ahead to the grinding part. So twist it, it should be at least at 6 o'clock. Sometimes it can go up to sort of 5 o'clock right here. But don't force it, you don't want to put your whole weight on the handle, otherwise it might damage something here, or you will get too much pressure. If it's very hard to twist, then you probably have a lot of coffee, so maybe dial this down. Okay, I'm gonna program the double cup button for you this time. So we'll put the cup here. This is how you program, you press program, and you press it again. Once you're happy with the volume, you press it again. Keep an eye on the pressure gauge. You should aim for about 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. That's when the best taste is achieved. If it's higher, then adjust your dose and size. If it's lower, do the same thing. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there's a few factors that can adjust or affect your pressure. So make sure it's around 12 o'clock, plus or minus a little bit. This should be about 1 o'clock from what I feel. It's about 11 o'clock, so I'll stop it right there. That looks to me about 40 milliliters. That was a little bit too fast. Again, like I said, if it was a little bit too fast and the pressure wasn't quite at 12 o'clock, you probably need to make it a little bit finer, or you increase the dose just a little bit. In this case, I think it was a little bit of both, so I could have made it a little bit finer. So that's 40 milliliters, 40 grams, very good. A good ratio is 2 to 1, so 18 grams in of grounds, 36 grams of espresso out. That's a good rule of thumb. You could do it more or less depending on your taste, and it's not a fixed rule. So here's the coffee. With the single wall, it is easier to dump out into that bin because I think there's more holes to release the pressure. So one tap and it falls, sometimes it falls on its own, whereas with the dual wall, strangely, you have to knock it very hard with the dual wall filters. You have to knock it very hard for it to fall. So that's one of the things that I noticed, I guess. So that's good. As part of a cleaning procedure, also I recommend doing this. Another flush just to clean it up. Maybe get a towel or a tissue and wipe the grounds. See, nice and clean, ready for the next time. Okay, let's do the milk. I'll grab the milk jug really quickly. With Breville's milk jug, for a double shot, fill it up to this spout, just below the spout, maybe a centimeter below the spout. As you can see here, that's what usually is recommended for a double shot. So for a latte, the sort of the foam level of the milk is medium. In a cappuccino, it's high. In a flat white, it's low. So the way you adjust the amount of froth is you adjust the amount or the duration of injection of the air. So with the steamer, you can control the injection of the air by the distance it is from the surface. So the closer it is to the surface of the milk, the closer it is to the surface, the more air you'll inject. And you'll hear that, and you'll also see that with the one very close to the surface, you'll see the air sort of incorporating, whereas when it's deep, it's just spinning it in a circle. Try to spin it in a circle, and also keep it like that at an angle, that way. That's the best technique I've found. So you'll sort of use your ears to judge if you're injecting air or not. Turn on the steamer, it'll take about 15-20 seconds. Give it a few seconds more, it'll become even stronger with the steam. If you turn the dial this way, you'll get hot water from the hot water spout. I use this to either warm up my cup if it's cold, or do Americanos. It's very nice for that, or tea, or anything like that. There it is. Turn it the other way and you'll get steam. So give it a few seconds. Here's my espresso, very nice. It'll clear out the water, give it a few seconds. Very strong. Turn it off. Don't turn it off for too long, otherwise it will go back to coffee mode. So very briefly, turn it off and start injecting the air. There we go. That's the sound you want to aim for. Hold this for 20 seconds for a latte. If you hold it for longer, you'll get a cappuccino. So now I'm injecting air, making that milk fluffy and giving it the creamy texture. Don't bring it too far up, otherwise you'll create big bubbles. You don't want big bubbles. You just want it to be very silky like that. So it's about 20 seconds now. I'm going to lift the jug, and now I'm not injecting any more air. I'm only spinning the milk, and it's only heating it up at this stage. It's only heating it up. When I can't touch the jug for more than half a second, then that's about 60 degrees Celsius. I can still touch it now. I can still touch it. So right about there. I can't touch it for more than half a second, so I'll turn it off. I'll quickly grab a wet towel now. I'll purge this first. Make sure there's no milk built up on the inside. I'll quickly grab a wet towel. You'll also see the machine go back to coffee mode. Wipe this as soon as you can. It'll keep your milk wand clean, otherwise it will be very difficult to remove later. On the back side, on the underside, and like I said, give it 1 or 2 purges for good measure. Keep it clean. If you don't, you might burst the pipe on the inside, or you might just make it very dirty and ugly. So I guess that's all you need to do to get a good latte. Let me just pour the milk. Try not to let your espresso sit out for too long, or your milk. And once you get the milk, tap it on the counter to break any bubbles and swirl it around until you get that sort of smooth, paint-like surface, almost like wet paint. Very creamy, very nice. I'm not much of a latte artist, but with this machine it makes latte art very easy. So now that the milk is ready, the espresso is ready, It's closer to a cappuccino, this one, because the milk is so frothy. That's fine. All I know is that it'll taste great. And I hope you enjoy your machine. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask me. And I'll see you very soon. Cheers.